We need to talk about AngryJoe and his massive TDS going on. The Trump derangement syndrome is reaching levels of epic proportions that I didn't think were even reachable. But apparently, this is the rabbit hole some folks choose to go down. Donald J. Trump on Truth Social posted the museums throughout Washington, but all over the country, are essentially the last remaining segment of woke. The Smithsonian is out of control, where everything discussed is how horrible our country is, how bad slavery was, and how unaccomplished the downtrodden have been. Which, just real quick, I think he is onto something with this, because it's all about how the manner of how things are presented to people, and if they have an angle to make things appear far more negative or worse, almost like subliminal messaging to viewers walking through the museum. Nothing about success, nothing about brightness, nothing about the future. We are not going to allow this to happen. And I have instructed my attorneys to go through the museums and start the exact same process that has been done with colleges and universities, where tremendous progress has been made. Which, yes, although I did see, was it Harvard had 85%, I believe, of the administration admitted to being, I guess, leaning left would be the nice way to put it. This country cannot be woke, because woke is broke. We have the hottest country in the world, which is true. And we want people to talk about it, including in our museums. So is that controversial to say? I guess it could be taken as controversial if you trust the museums to be providing you an honest perspective of what the museums are showing to you. I choose to not necessarily think that, and I think he might be onto something with this. But here we have the meltdown of meltdowns to start the day here, because holy crap. AngryJoe, Joe Vargas on X. Every fucking day, a new embarrassment. Could this stupid fuck be any dumber? They are called history museums for a reason. You fascist PDF, which this is the whole, like, the brain can't process. I've been lied to. The museums may be only showing a part of the picture they want to show to indoctrinate people, to make people think that this is how the world was and how it got to where it is, which, again, that may be true, but it's also just part of the truth. Almost like lying by omission, I guess you could say. If you were a Kotaku journalist or something like that, you might think the museums are telling you the whole truth because you just want to believe what other people are telling you. Now release the unredacted Epstein files like you said you would, and stop, which, by the way, I'm with them on that. Yes, I agree, Joe. Do that, Trump. But why are you trying to move the goalposts from what the point of what he's saying here is to something completely unrelated to try to get an own? Okay. And stop sending your attorneys to F with museums and shit. I mean, this guy, how many swears are in this, by the way? Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got a Hitler, 6, 7. Holy crap. There's a lot of swears here. Stop sending your attorneys to F with museums and shit you don't like. Snowflake bitch. Meet Joe Vargas. Someone is a little bit upset at what Donald Trump said, and his fifis are a little bit hurt. Clearly, this is not what a president does. What? Improving the country, getting patriotism back on the map. That's not what the president does. I would argue that is one of the main points of what the president is supposed to do, is get the people to believe in the country. Calling everything you don't like woke is beyond cringe. No one buys that shit anymore. but your brain dead cult. Oh, the irony. Stupid effers are just cool with letting the senile 80-year-old grandpa use the Hitler for dumb. There's the Hitler. Can these guys please write one message they disagree with without bringing Hitler up? Could they? Like, that's challenge level impossible to a lefty lunatic. Hitler-for-Dummies social engineering playbook. For F's sake, face palm, fight back. This is Joe Vargas, by the way, with a fairly substantial following, nearly 330,000 people following him. And his channel has, to me at least, fallen off the map. This is someone who used to be one of the premier people on YouTube that no one that I know of cares about anymore. It's got to make you wonder. Does that mean his content is not good? Maybe, maybe not. My point being is, like, I have zero interest in watching him. I have zero interest. And it all goes back to when I saw him do that interview with Jeff Keighley, trying to get Jeff Keighley in a gotcha, and Jeff Keighley completely embarrassed the hell out of him. I'm just like, man, this guy's kind of retarded. And like, that was like the first, like, it showed the whole world who he was. But it's almost like he got really popular, and the popularity has superseded his retardedness, if that's even a thing. But anyways, I continued down here with, hey Grok, does this strike you as a dude with major Trump derangement syndrome? And Grok said, the post does express intense frustration towards Trump, using strong language. TDS is a term some use for perceived over-the-top anti-Trump sentiment, but it's subjective and debated. People on all sides can get passionate about politics. What do you think? And I said, I think we need to make mental institutions great again, starting with this guy. And Grok said, haha, twisting the slogan like that. The original rant is fiery, no doubt. TDS debates often highlight how polarized things get. Folks on both sides feel strongly. What's your take on the museum story? And I responded, I think, while abrasive, and some would even consider it a bit over the top, Trump speaks to what many are thinking, but for so many years, afraid to say, fearing their livelihoods would be attacked by the leftist cult. Things I myself have dealt with by merely just giving opinions on video games that clash with communism. Could Trump be more tactful when addressing stuff? Sure. But regardless, he is getting at something that has frustrated many people. And overall, I'd say the majority of people stand with him on this. And Grok said, fair point. Trump's direct style does resonate with many who feel censored or frustrated by certain narratives. On the museum issue, he recently criticized the Smithsonian for emphasizing negatives like slavery over success and brightness, and ordered reviews to align exhibit with American exceptionalism. Views differ on whether this promotes balance or risks censorship. What's one change you'd suggest? And I said, museums shouldn't be propaganda mills that only dwell on slavery and shame. Why not instead show the full picture, like triumphs, inventions, and even heroes? Balancing info isn't censorship. If anything, it's patriotism. We need to stop being ashamed of being American. And Grok said, agreed. Museums should aim for a comprehensive view of history, covering both triumphs like inventions and heroes alongside challenges like slavery. Trump's recent push for Smithsonian reviews emphasizes highlighting American achievements, but critics worry it could downplay tough realities. A balanced approach might include exhibits on figures like Edison or the Wright brothers next to civil rights stories. And then they continued asking questions. So I'm like, okay, well, it's AI. All they're going to do is keep a conversation going forever and ever. I just wanted to highlight as far as I could tell, an unbiased conversation trying to dissect what was transpiring here with what I would say is an extremely woke, mind virus ridden person. Kata says, I miss when the only thing I knew about AngryJoe was the videos he made. Hypnotic says, you claim others are in a cult, but then you spam words like fascist, PDF, etc. TDS really needs to be studied. 8-Bit Eric? Wrong. Dash Attack, you really want to talk about pedos, Joe? Like, don't get me wrong. I think it's sus what's going on with the Epstein thing, but you don't have any ground to stand on. And post a photo of Juario. I'm your president. Deal with it. Alucard, you continue to be the elitist retard, Joe. Uneducated as fuck. Jay Viper, fight back. Protect woke in museums. You are an idiot, bro. And we'll leave it at this one. Old Man Grim, hey, little buddy. Have you considered crying about it? So, yet another meltdown to end all meltdowns from Angry Joe. Last time I talked about this guy was an epic meltdown on Grumps. And wouldn't you know it, now we're talking about him again with an epic meltdown on Donald Trump. I would guess, following this pattern, the next time we talk about him is when he has an epic meltdown about me, because that seems to be what always happens with the trifecta of the three of us. Outside of his earlier videos from way back in the day and his TDS now, I know nothing about this guy. Oh, and his complete embarrassment from the Jeff Keighley interview. That's all I know about Angry Joe. So if it does involve me in the future, it's going to be new to me, because I'm like, I've never interacted with this guy before. All I see is just how completely messed up he is.